Welcome to the Across the Bar podcast, where we talk about how today's headlines impact your success at work. My name is Peter Rahbar, and I'm your first call on legal issues.
I'm Laura Brounstein. I am your first call on content and comms. And Peter, we're not like the same level in this picture. I know most people are probably listening. Yes. Stand up straight, young man.
I'm working on my posture.
Young man.
But I'm very stressed today, so
Why
maybe
are you
it's
so
not.
stressed?
Well, as you probably don't know, March Madness started today, the NCAA tournament, and my team, Duke, just had a very stressful game.
Did you win?
We won, thank God, but I was a little stressed. It was way closer than it was supposed to be. But here we are, smiling. And for those of you watching, we are drinking today. It is late Thursday afternoon. I have a Negroni.
Thursday
You have
evening, I would even call it.
Yeah, what do you have?
I have a lovely Japanese whiskey, Akashi.
Oh, wow, Japanese. So sophisticated.
We're going to order in sushi tonight, I think. And so I
Great.
had Japanese on the brain. And
Great. I like a good hibiki. I don't know if you have that in the bar, but that's an excellent one.
Look at this my gorgeous glass. These beautiful little glasses were from my parents' bar growing up.
Wow,
Aren't
that's
they
great.
so 70s and awesome with the little like etched stars?
By the way, I also have some glassware from my parents' bar.
Really?
I'm not drinking from it right now, but yes.
Obviously we both romanticized barware at an early age. We can get to that at another time.
Maybe it was a sign.
Someday you will have a podcast with drinking.
Well,
anyway.
we have a big episode. Big episode
A lot
today.
to talk about. We are going to talk about craziness going on at Atlassian. Someone was fired for basically calling the boss a rich jerk. FedEx is turning to robots. There are more jobless claims in some ways, but less in other ways. We're going to talk you through what's going on with unemployment right now and how AI relates to it. And then we had a reader question, which we love, about how much can your full-time employment dictate your side gigs. But before we get into all that, come on, give me a drum roll, Peter.
Drum rolling.
Drum rolling for our first expert guest. Editor and publisher of Celebrity Intelligence, Dan Wakeford, is going to talk to us about the big news in the Bachelorverse. This season of The Bachelorette was just canceled, and we needed to know. Okay, we're trying something new on this episode of Across the Bar. We are calling in one of our many brilliant friends. Dan Wakeford is the editor-in-chief and publisher of Celebrity Intelligence, and he has edited more celebrity and entertainment magazines than you have read. And we want to talk about what is going on in the Bachelorverse at the moment, because these people were hired and now they're not. We'll bring it back to your career.
This is breaking news. I mean, why are you underselling it? Like, this came out...
Breaking news in the Bachelorverse. Dan,
this came out an hour before we came on air. It
is the only story this week post-Oscars that has broken through. It is huge news.
What is happening?
So what's happened is, basically, I don't care about The Bachelor. I'm not interested at all. But this year I have been very interested because ABC took a huge risk and cross-franchised and brought in one of the stars from the Mormon Live show, which is one of their biggest shows on Hulu, their streaming service, and cross-pollinated her into becoming the Bachelorette. But this was a huge risk. Taylor Frankie Paul brings really great drama on a reality show, but is she right for the Bachelorette? And it has all exploded in their faces, and it's been a nightmare.
So what happened? Like, what did they find out?
So basically, she has had domestic abuse charges against her before in the first season, and this is all out there. She has a contentious relationship with her ex. And in February, they had an altercation, and the news came out this week, and they both had charges against each other. This is being investigated. We don't know exactly what happened. And then since then, they've obviously been evaluating what to do with this show. She's continued doing a press tour, but as this has broken in the last hour, that they have actually scrapped the show. because TMZ released a video which was public knowledge and it was existed as evidence showing the physical fight and the child witnessing this fight. This was all in existence in the public sphere before this case.
So it
And
was
so
in the public sphere that this woman threw chairs at her husband with her child watching?
that was in the evidence in court, and it had this whole legal episode had been reported. Yes.
Yeah,
How can ABC act like we didn't know? Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, I just watched the video. I mean, it's pretty violent and pretty crazy. Does ABC, I mean, I would imagine they would do some pretty heavy vetting of these contestants before they put a multi-million-dollar show on the air around them. Do you think they just skip that here?
Reality shows totally do a lot of vetting. Psychological vetting is famous. STD tests, and people are tested all the way through. Also, there's more of a duty of care nowadays with our stars and our reality stars that they should be psychologically up to this. So they definitely did vetting, but and this wouldn't have taken much vetting. This is in the public sphere. All the publications I've worked for have written about this, and it's the new incident has brought things to light that this has happened again in recent weeks, and there's been another altercation.
So had she talked about it in the past and said, like, I know we had some problems, but I'm in counseling and trying to do better? Or
Taylor isn't somebody who she's very truthful and very honest and transparent. It makes her a good reality star. And she has acknowledged all of those issues in the past. What has also happened within the last couple of hours is Dakota, the ex, has issued a restraining order. I'm not sure if that is what it has also led to into them cancelling the series. And in the statement that they gave, they attributed the cancellation due to the surfacing of the video.
So Dan, in making these shows, obviously there's creative decisions, there's business decisions. You're going to take on someone who's known to be very controversial, like this person. You know, do you feel that this decision was just there was pressure to just be more outrageous, more crazy? I mean, The Bachelorette is such a big franchise to take such a big risk and then now cancel it, which the implications of that are huge. Like, how do you think they even came to this decision?
I don't think it was necessarily to make it crazier. It was to get more eyeballs on that. Like, being crazier often gets more eyeballs, but there's been a very successful formula which was tested out last season of Dancing with the Stars, where they brought two other contestants, Jen Affleck and Whitney, across, and it brought the eyeballs of Hulu's biggest show across onto Dancing with the Stars, but it also brought the eyeballs onto social media and created buzz and brought the whole metaverse together, and it was incredibly successful. So they were trying to replicate that with Taylor, but the execution obviously didn't work quite so well.
Dan, might one say that this is the new CEO of Disney's first big decision?
I don't think that they would have been involved. Like, I mean, it's their first big problem to deal with, but okay. I don't think they would have been involved in this decision at that time.
I mean, say his second day on the job.
Yeah, what a welcome.
It's a tough way to go in. And from a legal perspective, because we always like to tie these issues back to the workplace. I mean, of course, anyone who's starring in a reality show is going to have a contract with all the provisions that say if you do anything that brings us into disrepute or public shame, we could cancel the whole show. We could cancel you.
But
that's pretty typical in all these situations.
Say I was the showrunner or the director of the show, and I signed a contract in good faith expecting to have this income. Couldn't I sue for fraud or something because the network knew these things and made the decision anyway and then pulled this?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think it's a point. I think it's a point if I were representing her, I would absolutely make, which is, hey, you guys knew exactly, as Dan said, you guys knew exactly what you were getting into. You knew exactly what was out there. You had a duty to vet it. This is nothing new, so pay her, whatever it is. Yeah. And maybe they do. And then that's that. I don't think ABC.
I mean, I'm not sure how the contracts would be structured about whether she gets paid per episode that's screened, or which episode is filmed. There's so many questions left open.
Most of the show is probably already filmed, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's down to the final episode where she chooses the two people. Good Morning America this week, they shows her teasing having a guy in the background in her apartment. So she's obviously with somebody who she has chosen on the show that we will never see.
Rose with no name. Okay. Dan, thank you so much for coming on and explaining this to us. If we can be helpful, let us know, and we may bother you again soon.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
All right, Laura. So we're ready?
How smart is he? He knew everything, Peter.
Well, I mean, he has the triple crown of being the editor of People, Us Weekly, and Entertainment Weekly. So, he's the expert to call in on The Bachelorette,
That was so
I'm
great.
not the expert.
I texted him like 45 minutes ago, and he was like, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, everyone wants to be on Across the Bar, obviously.
What? Okay, let's get into the first thing. This Atlassian story is so interesting because when I saw the headline, it was basically like company stands by firing employee who called CEO a jerk. But it's all more complicated than that. Can you talk us through it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so Atlassian is one of those companies that has it's a tech firm owned by, based in Utah, owned by the same guy who owns the Utah Jazz, who's pretty young dude, and has one of these policies that says, open company, no bullshit, talk what you want to talk about, free speech, blah, 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 except...
Listeners, they never mean that. We're going to get more into it, but they never actually mean that.
Right. And so one of the employees, and also they had something that I really hate, which is a Slack channel that's basically called the Outragers, where employees are allowed to say whatever they want. And one of the employees...
Listen, I think it's a mousetrap, but go on.
Yeah. One of the employees, when the CEO announced a layoff, put up a comment that criticized him. And basically the comment was, "What's up, Outragers? Just dialing in from my NBA team headquarters to yell at the people whose careers I've just pummeled." That's what she wrote.
Well,
And
there was a town hall where he talked about people that were being let go. And then the Slack channel blew up with people being like, this is, all these people they're letting go. They're not being honest about it. And then this all happened.
Yeah. And the CEO in question...
She put her comment.
Yeah, CEO in question, by the way, Mike Cannon Brooks is his name. And so a few days later, this employee was fired.
Just FYI, he did the employee meeting about firing a percentage of the staff from the headquarters of his NBA team.
Yeah.
So there was a little let them eat cake or let them bounce balls.
Yeah, sure. And he's
then put in the company Slack, oh, look, I'm the CEO or whatever she said at my, NBA team. There was
truthful.
Some reason for it.
Truthful.
Not wrong.
Right, so she was fired a few days later for engaging in acrimonious communications and ad hominem attacks against teammates and colleagues. And she then sued the company and filed an unfair labor practice charge in front of the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB. So this was not a court case.
It existed under Trump, to be honest.
It barely exists. And so this will be a test, actually, of the board, because he's now loaded it, the president has now loaded it with his loyalists. But basically, under the labor laws, whether you're in a union or not, you have a right to talk with your colleagues about your terms and conditions of work. So your hours, your wages, and other terms and conditions of work, including things like layoffs and other job actions. And also the board has given pretty broad rights to employees to criticize the executives of companies. So
like it was part of the company bylaws, you're saying?
No, I'm saying like it's part of like labor law that allows employees to do that.
Not the board of that company, not the board.
Yeah, the labor board, labor board.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I've seen cases where employees have used curses to directly cursed out their bosses or managers, and they were fired for that, and then the labor board has overturned them, saying that part of it was their right to engage in collective action, or people have protested putting up signs.
Word by Trump seems like it's going to be boss friendly, not employee friendly.
Right. So this case is currently in trial in front of the board. We'll see how it turns out. I would say in general, if you're going to take a direct shot at your CEO, you should be prepared to lose your job.
What's if you're going to take a shot at the king, better not miss? What's that?
Better not miss. Yeah, exactly. But look, you can expect that it's going to be met with pretty severe action from the company, and then then it's going to be a legal case, right? Like,
at the end of the day, no one should have a lot of expectation of safety from criticizing leadership at their company. The CEO is the king of the country.
There's some level of criticism I think that should be welcome and allowed, but mocking a CEO or cursing out a CEO, I think that's usually going to be met with.
Okay, who among us has never mocked a CEO we have worked for?
I've never mocked a CEO. Never.
You can't even say it.
CEO? No, not a CEO.
No, never.
I've mocked other people, but not a CEO.
Never.
No.
Okay. I definitely have mocked CEOs. I've had CEOs who were, wandering around.
You've mocked CEOs on this show.
Wandering around barefoot in the West Village. So I've mocked CEOs.
I've never worked for a barefoot CEO, thankfully. the ones I worked for had very nice shoes and suits, in fact.
Braggy, but okay.
It's true.
Yeah?
It's true.
Okay, so at the end of the day, if you are an employee, what should you look up and understand to protect yourself before you speak out on company channels about the company?
Well, I would say, even if the company has a no bullshit, say whatever you want policy, you should still be careful about what you say, because there's always egos involved and you could always potentially upset someone. But you should know what the policies are and you should know what the rules are.
Yeah.
In general, I think you should reserve any, criticism of company leadership for private discussion. I don't think you should do that in public. It's not a good idea.
Please remind everyone what Slack is not.
I mean, Slack is not private. Certainly.
Isn't the whole idea of it for your bosses to be able to spy on you?
I know, but if you're a company sponsoring a channel called Outragers, what do you expect?
Well,
I mean, that's why I disagree with it. It's so stupid to begin with.
I don't know. In some ways, it's good to create a place for people to sound off internally, not externally.
Nope.
And move on. No?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Let people go home and talk with their friends and family about it. I think there's some level of discourse that a company should encourage.
Studies show that people who have best friends at work perform better.
Yeah, here you go again with the best friends at work thing. I know it's like a big thing for you. I get it.
I have many work wives.
Yeah, but you can have best friends, but having a channel for people to openly criticize company policies is a little stupid, I think.
All right, I see you.
I mean, having complaint channels open and having people designated to receive these complaints, I think that's very effective and encouraging, and I think you should do that. I think companies should have as many channels available for employees to complain as possible. So in-person, hotlines, etc., all of that, websites where you could lodge complaints, fine, but just having a crazy Slack channel, what do you expect?
Crazy Slack channel.
Yeah.
Okay, who does not complain about their bosses? Robots. Robots do not complain
That's not true. That's not true, by the way. That's not true. I mean, there is a network, a social network of AI agents who complain about their masters. So it's not true. Even AI complains.
Okay, well, that's interesting. But also maybe differently or less. Anyway, FedEx is swapping out a large portion of its workforce for...
No.
No.
Wait.
Okay.
No.
You speak.
No, FedEx is creating an addition to its workforce, a chat agent workforce that supplements its human workforce. And so I actually think this is a good story.
Are you suggesting that they are not going to end up firing any humans?
Well, they might down the line, and a lot of companies might down the line, but what I think FedEx is doing is actually pretty interesting. What they're saying is, we're building this agent workforce to supplement our human workforce and do things that we don't have enough people to do. And these are separate tasks that will help our humans and help our customers.
Of course they're going to replace the humans with the robots.
Look, maybe that's a possibility down the line, but I think this is a more responsible approach to say we're going to give our humans the tools they need to be more successful, more efficient, more productive. And frankly, I think that's actually what is happening with AI right now. I think this whole people are losing jobs due to AI is bullshit. I think it's AI washing. It is cover for bad management.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so what about our next story that we were going to talk about is that while unemployment claims have not risen, the number of people ongoingly on unemployment has risen, showing that there is almost no net job gain in the job market right now.
Right.
People aren't being laid off because people aren't being hired. Why do you think people aren't being hired? The robot.
Do you want me to tell you? It has nothing to do with robots.
Oh, okay.
So there's a place called Washington, D.C., and there's a administration in charge right now that is every week
giving Peter the look while he's saying it.
Right. Maybe 2-3 weeks ago they launched a war that no one even expected to happen. And again, I'm telling you,
layoffs before this little
no, but it is emblematic of what is happening on the macro. The macro picture here is that there is an administration that is very unpredictable, that has made, and look, this is not political, this is just factual. They are unpredictable. They have made decisions that have had tremendous ramifications on the domestic and global economies, and companies cannot forecast and operate in that environment. So the first thing they're going to shut down when they can't forecast, when they can't predict what's going to happen in the next few months, in the next year, is they're going to shut down hiring.
Yeah.
And that is what is happening. Most companies have shut down hiring. And then after they shut down hiring, the next thing they're going to do is lay people off. And so we're going to start seeing that, more layoffs. And it has nothing to do with AI. And no one is going to say it's because of the president. No one is going to say that because they don't want the president chasing after them.
I think you are minimizing the real world effect of AI. Just today, there were 30 different things that AI did for me that I might have hired someone to help me with.
No, look, I get that, but AI is not at a point, and I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying AI is not at a point where it is.
Three things right. So also, all these companies putting in these functions, I'm not sure what they think is going to happen.
AI is not at a point where it is reliable enough to replace that many humans. I'm sorry. Take an example like Square. Last week, Jack Dorsey announced the layoff of 4,000 people because of AI. Guess what? Square's stock has been in the toilet bowl for the last couple of years. This guy is now viewed as one of the worst CEOs out there. Didn't know what he was doing when he was running two companies. Didn't really know what he was doing when he was running one company. So he conveniently says, I'm replacing 4,000 people with AI overnight. Yeah, sure. Okay, I believe it.
All AI washing.
It's not just me. There's a lot of people who believe
I know.
That.
Okay.
There's a lot of people.
We'll see how that plays out.
We'll see.
Okay. So this is super interesting. This was a reader question.
Question. No, listener question.
Sorry, listener. I'm used to being a magazine editor. Listener question. The question was how much can my company dictate my side hustle? This is somebody who has a corporate job, makes a salary, but then in addition has a side hustle that is creative and design oriented, has nothing to do with their day job. And the company is discouraging. Can a company have that power over your ability to make extra income?
Yes, they can. And I think you have to look at policies and you have to look at your offer letter to see if the company has rules about this.
Best interest, I guess. Do you want hardworking hustlers working for you?
Well, companies want the people they hire and pay to be focused on them. They don't want them to be distracted and doing another job while they're being paid by the company. So I all the time review contracts and offer letters that say, during the period of employment, you are our employee. All the services you provide are for us, unless you have our permission to do something else.
You
That's very
remember
common.
my contract for Clear? We put in a clause that they would not own the rights to any rom-com scripts I was writing.
Yeah, yeah.
And they
I
were
mean,
like-
sometimes we do carve-outs for stuff like that. I
They
mean,
were
I
like,
do that.
yeah, fine.
Yeah, we're not interested.
Any of your
Thanks.
bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to Clear Gates. Great product. Anyway,
How
Yeah.
did I hurt you? Go on.
but companies have these policies, that say you can't do anything outside of what we do. I mean, there's so many reasons why. First of all, they want your full focus and attention while they're paying you, and they expect you to be working for them. Secondly, they don't want you to be potentially caught up in some problem, that may become their problem because you're actually their employee. So you need to know what the rules are. So to the extent you have a side business and you're taking on a new job, you should disclose that up front and say, like, hey, I have this business. I want to make sure it's okay and you have no problem with it. And boom, that's it. Now, if you have that other business, you also need to make sure, like, do your part, right? Like,
Well, my question is, though, is this really a permission situation or more a forgiveness situation?
no, I mean, it depends on the policies. In some cases, it may
Read
definitely
the policy
be.
before you out yourself to your potential or current
Yeah.
employer. It's,
But also, like, if you're doing this, you should be careful not to be shooting videos on company property or using
respectful.
company materials
obviously do
for
it
your
on company time.
company resources,
don't do it
company
on-
employees.
But
Yeah.
obviously do it.
Don't do it on company time. Exactly. Like, if you're challenged, you need to be able to say, like, hey, this was totally separate. It has nothing to do with the business of the company. Doesn't compete with the company. You better be freaking sure it does not compete with the company. Okay, like, no conflicts of interest.
Have you had any clients that happened to? They realized
Yes.
had
Yes.
a company that was competing with them?
Yes, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, how do you want me to help you in
Write
this
it down.
situation? Yeah, exactly. So you need to make sure it's just totally separate. And by the way, if it does touch the company's business in any way, you should talk about it with them and make sure it's clear.
Yeah.
So that way they can't give you shit about it down the line. That's
Right,
basically
that's good
it.
advice.
I think so.
Read the company bylaws first and then determine your priorities, I think, first. Like, what
Well,
is
that too.
your day job or this side hustle?
Right.
And then you might want to have a conversation with your employer.
Right. Like, if the side hustle is just like something minor, like, you don't want to risk your job over it. If you think it's going to be a major thing, you may.
Cross the bar, then, like, obviously.
I mean, we both got clearance from our bosses, so we're good.
And my boss is a cat, so yeah. I did. Okay, heroes and zeros, my friend. Okay, so Peter and I never talk about our heroes and zeros ahead of time, except this week we did, because we were waiting for Dan to come on the thing. And my hero is Peter Zero. So I think let's start with that.
Yeah, sure.
I love Threads. There's a lot about Meta. I don't always like that. I love Threads. I think it is such a nice community. I think it's really fun. And I had a thread go viral this weekend where I talked about how moving I found the In Memoriam segments at the Oscars and observed that potentially growing older just means being more personally, emotionally impacted by the In Memoriam segments. Because as you get older, more people sorry to say. And the Billy Crystal ode to Rob Reiner, and then all of his players came to the stage, and then over all of the pictures, they played Storybook Romance, the love theme from Princess Bride. I was weeping. Peter, you don't look moved.
No, I thought it was moving. I definitely did. But my zero to that is that they left out James Van Der Beek and Eric Dane. I mean, I really can't believe that.
So I had a moment where I was like, wait, we know them for TV. Were they movie stars? But Van Der Beek was in Varsity Blues.
Obviously.
Amazing movie. And Eric Dane was in the X-Men movies. He was in Valentine's Day. That deeply handsome man was in many movies. So they should have been treated better by the Academy.
Yeah, and so that was a sad misstep. So that gets 0 status
Okay.
for me.
All right. So
Who's your 0? Did you have a 0 this week?
tell me your hero first.
Well, my hero is the show Just in Time, which you should see if you're in New York in the next 2 weeks, because Jonathan Groff is leaving the show March 29th, and Jonathan Groff
Is there time travel involved?
Jonathan Groff is amazing. You have 10 days left to go see it.
No, I'm saying, is there time travel involved in the show?
Yeah, of course.
Is that part of the theme?
Yeah, I mean, they're just going back. It's about Bobby Darin. No, it's about Bobby Darin. So they're going back, and it's an amazing show, and he's in pretty much every minute of it. And if you just read the profile of Jonathan Groff in the New York Times, he was anointed as the next Hugh Jackman, which I think is pretty big.
I think unbelievable talent. His song from Hamilton is one of the ones that earworms and sticks in your head. Don't you think? Oh,
yeah. I recently met him, and he's a super nice guy. And I was an investor in Merrily We Roll Along, which he was won a Tony for. So, I think he's great. So you should see it.
Okay.
10 more days. Go.
I will try to see that. So my 0 is just going to be, I'm going to go dark for 1 second, the overall feeling of things being out of control. It feels like too many things right now are rolling in dangerous places, and it's too much to keep track of at any one time. When was the last time you thought about Nancy Guthrie? Not that your mind should be focused on one woman's kidnapping, but this was a story that captivated all of us nonstop. And now, since then, we're at war in the Gulf. Iran is bombing the crap out of the whole area and has sealed off the main way that oil gets
Strait of Hormuz.
Well done. And
also Iran is getting bombed.
Iran is getting
severely.
Bombed. Yes. There is a weird lack of support for Persian independence, and there is a weird lack of support for the overthrowing of the IRGC, from what I can tell. And at the same time, you've got the president talking about invading Cuba. And I caught a minute of a press conference he did today with the Prime Minister of Japan. And
that was incredible.
The moment I caught, he was talking about the design of one of our federal buildings for a good time.
You missed the part where he joked about Pearl Harbor.
What? I missed that part.
Yeah, well.
That was some shit, that press conference.
That was some shit.
As someone that changed their life to go work on the Biden campaign and then ended up working on the Harris campaign, which, I love Madam Vice President. I love her, but I ended up working for a different campaign than I thought because people did not pay attention to the signs that somebody who was the leader of our country was did not necessarily have the mental acuity at their age to still do the job. How is Trump not showing the same thing?
It's a good question, and you prove my point. If you're a corporate leader in this environment, just think you and I can sit here and say, we don't know what's going to happen in the next day. How can you plot the future of your company under these circumstances? So you just proved my point.
That's a good point. You know what the only solution is, people? Listen to Across the Bar.
Yeah, exactly. Drink more. I thought you were going to say drink more.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So have a drink. You know what the solution really is? A drink with a friend.
Yes.
Honestly.
Well, spend time with your friends, whether you work out or drink or whatever
the drink
you're
is
doing.
Alcoholic or not.
Yeah.
Sharing a beverage or a meal with a friend is actually the only antidote to how scary and freaky the world is right now. So
yeah.
I hope this podcast feels like that to people, because that's what it feels like to record it. So
there you go. Wow. Heartfelt.
What?
Heartfelt. On that note.
Something really nice to you. I'm like, mark it down.
Heartfelt. So noted.
Hashtag
so noted on the record, as the lawyers would say. Okay, well, thank you for listening to, watching, and hopefully sharing and subscribing to Across the Bar. we
And thank you
look
to
forward
Sadie
to
Rahbar for editing this episode, which took a little bit more editing work than most of them because of our first guest, Dan Wakeford. Thank you for coming and joining us.
All right, thanks. We'll see
Bye.
everybody next week. Take care.